Had a nice chat with Desharnais yesterday, just about his continued journey, and he's sort of aware that the fans like his blue-collar story. You know, when you see him, I know it was a tough game on Sunday, but willing to kind of fight for his teammates and do whatever it takes to keep getting those minutes. You know, how much does that mean to everybody?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, he went back to, you know, what is a cathedral for a lot of French-Canadian hockey players, is to go play an NHL game in Montreal. It's not the Montreal Forum, but it was Bell Center. You know, that I'm sure that was a special moment for him. And I think where he's at in his career is that he's, you know, he's trying to make an impact every game that he plays. He's fighting to establish himself as an NHL regular. So far, he's done a really good job. He's finding ways to have that impact. I don't think necessarily fighting is his number one trait. I think he does a lot of really good things, but for him, you know, he's certainly capable of taking care of business should the moment arise. And I thought that moment in the game, I didn't think we had a lot of things going on, but I thought both him and Evander did something to inject a little bit of emotion into the game. And, you know, I thought that was a positive for Vincent too. So,
I mean, we ask you about lineup stuff all the time.
Yep.
But, you know, whether it's 11 and 7 or when you've said forwards they're playing well might have to come out, like, how much do you embrace that as a coach? And maybe, I don't know if you ever explicitly tell players that, like, make it hard on me, like, make my job difficult by how you play.
Sometimes, Reed, we can say all we want, but when players feel the competition to be in the lineup, I think that says all that needs to be said. And I think that's one of the things that we've had going on here since Christmas time, is that it's been very competitive to get into our lineup. Sometimes guys get taken out of it for reasons that have nothing to do with poor play. It's just the fact that we want to look a certain way, and you know, and that means some good players don't get into the lineup that night. You know, I think maintaining that level of flexibility is important for us. I think, you know, it's helped us have the type of success that we've had in the month of January and early February.
AJ, I just want to ask you about, you know, obviously this time there's a lot of rumors going around, and every other player is going to come here and play for you guys this year, apparently. Just how do you block that out as a coaching staff? How do you block that out as a team and just focus on, because there's some important games coming up here, and just block all the outside noise?
Yeah, I think, you know, we don't spend a lot of time in the confines of our dressing room talking a lot about that stuff. In fact, I would say that, you know, that swirl probably comes from a lot of people in this room, not necessarily inside the room. So now, all of that said, people are human beings and they're aware of certain things. I think where we want to put our emphasis and our import is on making sure that we're prepared to take care of that day's business. And we spend a lot of time talking about the things that are immediately within our control. And right now, today, we have a very good team coming in to play us, a team that played us hard a week ago, a team that hasn't lost since that game. That is where our focus is.
And when it comes to player movement, does Kenny kind of come talk to you guys and say, how do you think this guy will fit in? How do you think this guy will fit in? We're talking about this guy. Do you have any input on guys that may come and go type thing?
Well, let me give you a little insight into me as a person. I like to stay in my lane. And my job is to get the most out of the people that are in front of me. So that is my job. Now, that said, I do have an opinion, and if I'm asked my opinion, it's one that is based on experience. It's based on a lot of work in terms of paying attention to what's happening around the league. And it's certainly in any type of healthy organization, you have those types of dialogues. And, I'm a fortunate guy that in my first go-round here as a head coach in the National Hockey League, that I get to work for a manager that has the type of experience like Ken has, and that is a great communicator like Ken is.
I've often been accused of not staying in my lane, but I want to circle back to something you said about, were you surprised, like non-conference rival playing Detroit the last game, you had Kulak and Fabry were going at it the entire game. Evander got involved in a couple pretty heated. Were you surprised at how much animosity was in that game that night? Because I was a little taken aback, frankly.
Well, it's weird coming off of a long break like we had, and Detroit coming off their break. You don't know what you're going to get in those types of games. I thought it was a competitive game. I think they're fighting to gain points to make a playoff push. We're fighting to gain points to secure a place in the playoffs. And you put all those factors into that stew. Sometimes it bubbles over.
And I'm going to circle back to Derek for a second. Just there's been trade rumors out there. Mm-hmm. To me, Kulak looks like he's a different player over the last month. I mean, he seems a little bit more assertive. Mm-hmm. Do you think he's playing better, or am I off on that, or what do you see?
No, I think Kulak is, you look at the game we played right before the break, he got into a fight. I think, again, I don't think that's his number one skill. I think he's a very good skating D-man, that stick on puck, makes a good first pass with with it when the play presents itself. I think our team has played well, and part of that is the individual performances rising, and Brett's certainly done that for us here over the last 6 weeks.
Jay, the fan always wants the sexy offensive defenseman. You had Vlasic in San Jose, I believe. What makes a good defensive defenseman? Because they're starting in the defensive zone all the time, and they don't get the offensive numbers that the offensive defensemen do.
Yeah, well, I think actually Ken talks a lot about this. How many true number one offensive defensemen are there in the National Hockey League? And then you look at the quote unquote defensive defenseman. There's a lot more opportunity for people that take pride in stops. People who, take pride in boxing out, eliminating their check from the play, those types of things. I think, I don't know that there is one recipe for the perfect defenseman. I know that the complexion of a D-corps is important. And certainly there's a place for people that put a premium on defending well and, keeping things simple.
Thank you. Morning, Jay.
Morning, Tony.
Not sure if you're willing to reveal, but are you going with Jack Campbell tonight?
Oh, we'll see what comes out of the gate tonight, Tony.
Okay. The only reason why I asked that is because I have a question regarding Jack Campbell.
I'm happy to answer any question regarding Jack Campbell.
Is there a moment to you that stood out when you first met Jack, or maybe over the course of the season, that displayed to you his competitiveness and his fire?
Yeah. One of the things that I saw was somebody overcome a little bit of early adversity on a new team. I think that can't be understated, is that the work that he put in to feel the way he feels now. The other thing I would say is you want one specific moment. I remember being in New Jersey and being on the bench in a game, and in the second period, I think he took a hard puck, right to the nose, broke his nose, and sure enough, he was right back on the bench in the third period, and he did not miss practice the next day, and in fact, he played the next game, the next few games, and to me, that showed me something. because it didn't look good. I can tell you that it did not look good. And for him, for a goaltender to take one right here, and as I said, not miss a beat, he showed me something.